It's the Ansary podcast for February 5th, 2015. In this podcast, we're going to be examining why it's so easy for some women to throw men in the trash. It's about revenge. Now, men today are being marginalized in ways that I have not seen before, and I'm fairly young. I'm almost 35. Some of you are a lot older than I, so I speak to the females in the audience. I speak to the males in the audience. Do you recall it being like this 20 or 30 years ago when songs were on the radio like Up Where We Belong, or What a Fool Believes, or Don't You Want Me, or If I Can't Have You, or I Go Crazy, or We Don't Talk Anymore? I left out the name of the artist, but those are some of my favorite songs, actually. I love the 70s. One of the reasons I love music from the 70s is the music was about romance. It was about compassion. It was about love. And the 80s, yes, a little bit, but it was really more about codependency from what I noticed. I noticed a lot of songs, a lot of the lyrics. At a young age, I noticed this. I noticed how codependent it was, and subsequently, how unhealthy to listen to those lyrics and be programmed by them. So a lot's changed since the 70s. And even though there's songs about, supposedly, allegedly, about love, it's really about lust and control and fear. Not to mention Katy Perry singing songs about having intercourse with aliens, but we won't go too deep into that, at least not in this video. We'll get into Katy Perry and her riding the beast of the Super Bowl in a future video. Hang on, we'll get there. But I want to draw attention to the fact that we now live in a society where I would say women have been programmed to throw away men, a way of getting back at them. And there's different ways a man can be thrown away. You can ignore him. You can defriend him. You can view him as nothing more than a dollar sign. And if a man isn't making a certain amount of money, if a man's gone off grid, if a man is on the non-materialistic path, for some women it's easy to throw them away and see them as men that have no value, at least no value to them, at least at the moment, in the current conditions. So men today are being stripped of their value. And masculine energy, which includes protecting women, it's being demonized and it's misunderstood. People have confused light and dark masculine, just like people have confused light and dark feminine energies. And there is a difference. For some of us, we're starting to see what that means. We're starting to get a really good look at what that means. And instead of a collective shift in consciousness, we're almost witnessing a collective shift towards unconscious behavior in the zombie apocalypse, as we see apathy rising like never before. So, what I want to communicate is that many women have been hypnotized into this false illusion of power, that somehow they're gaining power by throwing men in the dumpster, so to speak, as if they're an abortion. And I'm seeing the propaganda, which is coming from a far darker place than just the media. It has a much darker root, and I will call it archonic at this time. It has an archonic root, and it is alive and well today. And you can see it in the chit-chatter, in the way that women are speaking about men on Facebook and on YouTube and in the comment sections. The infection has taken hold of the species. It is in the collective consciousness. It is in the collective zeitgeist. There are several programs running simultaneously. It's the anti-female and anti-male program, anti-feminine, anti-masculine, pro-machine, pro-robot, pro-asexual. So it is alive and well. And we also must show compassion for those men that are being discarded and encourage them to not become monsters as a result through this social abortion that is taking place. And it's like watching an abortion in real time. You know, one thing that I notice the beauty right away when I see a mother and her child at the park, in society, at the grocery store, at the gym, or the community center that I go to, you see this love, or at least it seems that way, between mother and child. How many of those mothers are cognitive of the fact of all the men that used to be cute little puppies at one point that have now been discarded, that now live on the streets, that are passed up for jobs because they're not female? Do they ever think about this? Do they ever think about what the world's going to be like when their little Billy grows up and develops a deeper voice and enters into the world? How will little Billy, Billy, how will little Billy be treated? Does she ever think about how he might be treated? Does she ever think about the real life skills and knowledge that little Billy needs to make it through the world? Does the mother know what kind of world that little Billy is going to grow up in? Does the mother want to know? Does the mother want to know? Out of pure animalistic defensiveness, concern for the child. Because there's far more to be aware of than just whether there's a car or not coming at your son or daughter as they cross the street, or whether or not someone molests them. There's far more that a child needs to be aware of and educated about as they grow up in this type of a world, especially in this day and age. Children today, more than ever, more than even the period that I grew up, children today need loving parents that have the gift of sight to foresee the world of tomorrow. I don't necessarily mean psychic sight. I mean a common sense understanding of where we're going. So this revenge psychosis has taken the species by storm. This illusion of power that comes from throwing someone away. And treating someone like an object. Maybe not a sex object, but a dollar sign object. How much is that man worth? And just having some sort of a rating system, and whether or not that subjective net value is one that is worthy of physical affection. Men are subjectified every single day in this culture, and more so now than ever before. So there is this collective psychosis that is running rampant in the species, and it takes multiple forms. But the most common form that it is taking at the moment is coming in the form of men being discarded and left on the streets and pushed out of the workplace. No longer are they cute little puppies, cute little teddy bears. Oh no, they're men now. And we all know how men are being painted in the consensus reality, and how it's affecting men, infecting men, and their own self-image. People forget that young children are impressionable. They're also intelligent. No doubt at all, no doubt in my mind, there are young, intelligent men out there that are more intelligent than what their parents are giving them credit for. And some of them may already be seeing the warning signs as they see men demonized in the media, in the Super Bowl ads. And by the way, there's a grown adult in Venezuela who has cut off his nose, and he's in the process of, I believe, or is about to tattoo his face red so he can look like the Red Skull character from the Captain America movie and comic book. Red Skull, for those of you that don't know, is associated with the Nazis. So we are seeing this rise in popular villains in today's pop culture, comic books, movies, other forms of pop culture. And we are seeing young boys emulate the villain. They've been given the green light. We've seen the hero demasculated, sacrificed, if you will, upon the altar. And we are seeing the rise of the super soldier villain and the many forms that it takes. We are certainly in a period of time where this self-hate within the human species is making itself known. Men and women are not separate species. Now, how this idea came about, how long it's been around, not all things are clear. What is clear is that it's arrived within the consensus collective consciousness. And it is not something that I would call evolved or ascended. It's frightening. It's like I'm watching an abortion of men on a larger level. And by the way, I'm curious to see the abortion statistics. Are there more men being aborted than women? And I don't believe that there should be a preference over men or women. And we know the problems that China has with this one-child policy. And to be honest with you, I've always stayed out of the abortion discussion. But if you want me to be honest with you, I will be honest with you. If you want me to lie to you, well, then go listen to another talk show host, because I won't lie to you. I don't think it's right to kill what's inside of you. And that is speaking from the heart. And I find it just a bit alarming that there's a couple things to this one. I see women in this society care more about their right to murder their child in the womb than I see concern for the wars to stop their killing the children of other mothers in other countries via drone attacks and military invasions. And that alone is alarming. And some could say it's more than alarming. Some could say it's a pure evil. For someone to be more concerned with their right to end the life of something in their womb than they are concerned about women, children, and men being slaughtered in other countries. And it's already come out. I'm sure you've heard the reports about children being raped, sexually assaulted in front of their mothers, in front of their parents. These are the types of things that are happening in our world. And so when I don't see concern about that, and I see more of a concern to abort their children, I see something fundamentally wrong within the collective human psyche, and in particular our own culture. So the pro-abortion crowd doesn't have my support, because they clearly aren't even, it's very suspicious where this self-hate is coming from. And the lack of concern for others. And that's the red flag. For everyone that's going to get, oh, Alex, but a woman's right. Well, what about others' right to live once they come out of the womb? As we, again, focus our attention, if you will, if your heart can do so, on all those human beings that have already been born that are being killed as we speak at the hands of our military. Where is the outrage against that? The very fact that there isn't is highly suspicious of a virus within our own consciousness. So as the future, as we progress forward, I think we're going to see a lot more men than women in this culture aborted. And those statistics may already be available. And it's that collective self-hate within the human species that is already infected by the mind parasites from the archonic realms. And I also think that every soul that's aborted, that there is potential that is actually how archons are brought to life. And I'm not here to tell you that my way is the only way, but I'm going to speak from my heart. And if something that I say triggers something within you, then I've done my job, especially if it leads us towards a positive outcome, towards unraveling and going deeper, pulling back the layers of the onions. I don't want to take you to a dark place of hate and fear and resentment. I want to take you to a place of love, understanding, and compassion and empathy. And I think that there should be empathy for those aborted souls that never had a chance to breathe in this world like you and I. In a world where people that were born at you could say, the wrong country at the wrong time are being violently removed on a second-to-second basis. For those that believe in karma, for those that believe what goes around comes around, what is this going to mean for the future of the United States? Honestly. So I don't think that people should be giving their attention to a pro-abortion movement. And I think for those that are activists in the anti-abortion movement, they've lost credibility with a lot of people because a lot of them seem to be associated with the right wing or the religious right. And unfortunately, that's been hijacked to promote these wars of aggression. So the anti-abortion movement, not to put into a box, but in a way they seem to function as a collective. They have failed to promote life across the board. And that's why they're not seen as credible by people that don't want to hear religious programming thrown at them, especially when there's anti-homosexual rhetoric that may go along with their belief system. People aren't open to that. So real pro-lifers should be real pro-lifers and should not be, anti-abortion but pro-war. That's schizophrenic. That is as schizophrenic as having a coexist sticker right next to a Obama sticker, which is something that I see a lot of in Portland. I've said enough. I hope my perspective on this topic at least is understood and where I'm coming from. I believe in a woman's right to a great many things. But for women to truly have rights in this society, and let me just say on this planet, there's a little bit of compassion that's needed for human beings, women and men all over the world, in order for someone to be free. I don't believe that, we just have freedom automatically because we're born into a certain land. I believe that genuine freedom has to be worked for and has to be earned. And I don't believe that we're on our way to earning greater freedom when we're silent about the things that matter, or when we're silent about the genocide and victimization of others. I don't believe that that fits into the natural law or universal law equation. So this is just food for thought. I'm Alex Ansary, and this has been a podcast for February 5th, 2015. We'll talk to you next time.